Hello, everybody. I'm so excited. Oh my goodness, it is Earth Day. Do you know that? It's Earth Day. Yes. Um, so my name is Raya, and I am coming to you through our screens to celebrate Earth Day and share a way that we can all celebrate Earth Day. There's so many different ways, but I'm going to get into one of them. But I would like to turn it over to, we have a few helpers in the back end. So Simone is helping with the chat. And I'd like to turn it over to Janelle for just a moment to honor the land that we are living and working and playing on. So Janelle, if you wouldn't mind, that would be great.
Of course. Hello, everyone. Happy Earth Day. I am so happy to be here with you all. I will be in the background. I'll hop in every once in a while, but I just want to take some time, um, especially on this Earth Day, but every day to acknowledge the spaces where we're coming from. So, as a virtual program, it's really interesting because we're not in front of you, we're not in a specific place altogether, but we are all on lands places. So, I am currently over at Clearville Conservation Area in Brampton, Raya's downtown Toronto at Corktown Commons. But in the area that we are, we're generally around the Greater Toronto area. I just want to acknowledge that we're on the traditional territories and treaty lands of many First Nations and Indigenous people, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe of the Williams Treaty First Nation, and the Huron-Wendat and the Haudenosaunee. And now these spaces are home to many more people, diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. And we are fortunate to be here and learn from these spaces. And I just want to say, like, specifically for me, I love the area that I'm from. I live in Pickering. I'm from the waters of the Rouge Rivers, and the space around there has been taken care of by these people for generations. And we're very lucky to be able to recognize these lands, especially on our Earth Day, and think of ways that we can continue to take care of these spaces as well for many, many generations to come. So as we think about Earth Day and where we are, no matter where you are and watching us from, I want you to take some time and think about what you're grateful for on the spaces that you're in, where you are right now, where you live, where you go to school, and how we can continue to take care of these spaces the same way that the First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people have taken care of these spaces for time immemorial, which means as long as people have been in these areas. So, with that, I am going to pass it back to Raya so we can take a look at some of the spaces that she's going to be exploring today. So, I'll pass it back to you, Raya.
Thank you, Janelle. And I'm just going to add to that that when I think about my connection to the land and the waters, I think about often how every breath that I take in, I am breathing something that was inside a tree or a plant growing from the ground that's lower down, maybe a shrub or a wildflower. I am breathing the oxygen that a plant produced by using the sun's energy and the water. And so something that was of a plant is of me now. And I just think that connection is so powerful because it's every breath that I take, right? Every time I drink water, I'm drinking something that has been part of other organisms' lives as well. So without further ado, then, in terms of celebrating Earth Day, I wanted to share a little bit about where I am. And I think that Janelle is going to pull up a map to show you that as well. And then we'll get into the stewardship piece. So I'm going to turn my camera a little bit. As Janelle briefly mentioned, I am in a park in Toronto called Corktown Commons. And I'm just going to walk down this trail here as we're zooming in, zooming in. We're kind of in the east of downtown Toronto. The road that you can see on the picture that Janelle was showing on the right-hand side is what I'm going to point out in just a moment here. So let's see. Janelle, you can make me bigger again if you like. So I'm going to point to a bridge here. That is Gerard, and there's a highway, the Don Valley Parkway, that goes down along this. You can see the cars. But between that highway and the construction that's a little bit in front of it is actually a river, which I can't show you from this angle, but that is the Don River. And after a few hundred meters, it flows down right into Lake Ontario. So just past these structures and the GO train that we can see is Lake Ontario. So that is where I am, very much an urban space. Look at all those buildings, right? But what's so beautiful about the way that city planners sometimes make decisions is including these green spaces as well. And so Corktown Commons has ups and downs, lots of places to explore, and some really fantastic habitats that actually have the most biodiversity, which are wetlands. And we're going to be checking out some wetlands here so you can kind of see the water flowing down there. But we are going to get close and personal, hear these urban sounds, maybe close and personal with some of the small organisms, which will become tall organisms in just a short while. And I imagine you can hear some of these winged organisms as they are calling. Okay, so we talked about how we're celebrating Earth Day. I'm going to come back onto the screen here. And one way is to get outside and just appreciate the nature that we're all a part of, right? There's lots of other things we can do that have to do with saving water and cleaning up litter and things like that, planting plants. But today, we're going to focus on a way to celebrate Earth Day that has to do with being a community scientist, also known as a citizen scientist. So community science or citizen science, what that means is contributing to the larger kind of scientific knowledge around the world even. And there are some online databases, so collections of information that we can all contribute to in helping the broader scientific world understand what is going on with, in this case, the natural world. By doing community science, then you are contributing to this knowledge, and that can help inform decision making about what we need to protect and how we can protect different areas in the world. Now, the project that we are encouraging you to participate in is called the City Nature Challenge. And the City Nature Challenge is a challenge that has been going on for about 10 years, where for about 4 days, and it's coming up from the 25th to the 28th of April, different cities compete to make the most, have the most people contributing to observations within a city of different organisms. So plants and animals including, mammals and birds, reptiles, insects, all these amazing, and spiders, and all these amazing different kinds of animals that exist. So we're going to go through showing how we can contribute to this database. So what any of you can do to help contribute. I did want to share that the City Nature Challenge, when it first started 10 years ago, so we're at the 10th anniversary, just had 2 cities competing. Los Angeles and San Francisco were competing to have the most observations or the most observers. And I'll get into some details later on about how that competition has grown over the years. But let me turn my screen again to show you some more exciting things about where I am. And I wanted to mention, if you have any I should have mentioned this earlier. If you have any questions, then at the end of the live stream, Janelle and Simone can help to let me know what those questions are, and I'm happy to answer them as the best that I can. And teachers, if you would like to request a worksheet to go along with the City Nature Challenge, we actually prepared 2. One of the worksheets, maybe Janelle can pull up the worksheet, is for going out to actually document the photos that we're taking, because then they can be uploaded later. And the second worksheet is a way to explore an app that can be used for the City Nature Challenge. So I'm going to get into those details a little bit later with the app and everything, but I wanted to share a bit more about where we are. Thank you, Janelle, for pulling those up. Maybe we'll pull those up again later. So one of the cool organisms I spotted here, let's see if I can find this beautiful creature. My phone sometimes does a little bit of funny turning, so we'll see how this works out. There we go. Do you see who that is down there? In this wetland, there is a beautiful turtle sunning themselves, enjoying the sun down there. And growing in the wetland are these gorgeous plants that have their seed heads popping out, spreading their seed. And these plants, they kind of look like hot dogs on a stick, or veggie dogs on a stick for us vegetarians. And these are called cattails. And whenever I see cattails, I'm like, oh, I know they like to have their feet wet, so there must be water. And in this case, there most certainly is water. Also in this area are some forested spaces, woodlots. So that kind of brings together animals who like the wetlands and also like to spend time in forests. Sometimes animals like to spend time in 2 different spaces. And as we move along, I'm going to share that with the City Nature Challenge, you really want to be capturing photos because those kinds of observations are able to be assessed by other people. This is the beauty of it. We can put a photo up of an organism we're not even familiar with, and then somebody else anywhere in the world can help us identify that organism. As we come across organisms today, I'll be showing you what I mean by all this. I'm not seeing, even though I'm hearing birds, I'm not seeing any right now to show. But let's start with one of the easiest organisms to document, and these are the plants because they do not move. They do not run away or fly away. And I'm seeing that there is a lovely plant right here. Now, when you are taking photos to submit to this challenge, then you want to make sure your photo is clear and that we know what plant we're talking about. If I went click, what plant is that? Well, there are about 4 or 5 or 6 even different plants in this photo. So to submit a photo, you want to make sure that you are indicating which plant it is. So here, I'm zooming in on this one photo. Click, and I might take a photo that looks like that. Maybe in one submission of your observations, you can actually submit a few photos. I might take a point. I actually found this on the ground to show the size. So if somebody's like, are those big or little leaves? Well, now here's a quarter. Click, and I can show the size that way. I can also use my hands to kind of show the rough size of that plant. So when taking your photos, you want to make sure that what you're taking your photo of is centered. Something else that doesn't move are signs of animals. And I don't know if you can tell, there's something glowing here, a little feather. Now, I don't really want to touch the feather because it might have mites from the bird still. So, I mean, I will sanitize my hands after anyway. I already touched that quarter. But let's see if I can get close to the feather and a little bit of shadow on there. That's not ideal, but we can see the patterns on the feather, and I can go click and maybe take a few other angles, maybe flip it the other way, and take a few photos from different perspectives of the same object. I wonder if that's a hawk feather with the brown and the white. Maybe it's from a hawk, but somebody else might know for sure when I submit it to the challenge. All right. Sometimes, it's a bit early, but sometimes we might come across some flowering plants. For instance, this one here is one of the earliest plants to show color in Ontario. It's actually not a native plant, but this one I know is called coltsfoot. So I would take a photo, click, head on, and I might also want to take a photo of the stem of a plant, if I can get that one, because it's a unique stem here. Click, and it also shows the height in addition to the specifics of the stem. So if I was submitting this one, and I'll show you how to submit it shortly, then I would want to take a couple of different angles of that plant. Let's keep moving along a little bit and see who else or what else we can come across. Ah, Janelle, yes. Oh, I can't hear you. Might be muted.
I am sorry about that. I just wanted to show while you're looking for some animals, but it seems you just found one. What the City and Nature Challenge looks like on the web on iNaturalist, the software that we use in order to do
Excellent.
this. But I
Yes.
do see
Perfect
that you
segue.
have
I'm
a
just going to show iNaturalist on the next sighting.
see. Okay, so do you want me to show them before you show them this little bird that you see there, or do you want to? I can
I'll
move
show the
that.
bird. I'll show
All
iNaturalist,
right,
and then you can show it on your screen.
cool. Sounds good.
So I took this picture earlier of a bird, and now you're seeing me again. I'm a little far away from the bird. That's that black spot in the middle, so it's really hard to tell. If I had my iPad or my camera, I would really try to zoom in to get the shot that I took earlier, which I zoomed in for, because we could see a lot more details. If it's a bird that you really can't zoom in on, and that's the best you got, then you submit that. But you can specify it's the bird. Like somebody might say, oh, what plant are you trying to show? You would specify in your entry, you're trying to show the bird. Let's go see what the entries look like. So I'm just going to walk a little bit further along here.
All right.
And
While you walk, I'm going to bring up what the website looks like. So the City of Nature Challenge uses this really cool app. You can have it as an app on your phone, or you can pull it up on your web browser. But it's called iNaturalist. This is my account right here, Girls Can Too. It's a summer program that we have. If you're in grade 7 or 8, you can look that up. But it's pretty cool. You can see it helps you explore the different nature that you have around you. So you could go into iNaturalist and you can explore different observations from around the world, all over the world. You can look at the different animals and plants that you can find all over the world. But you can also search in species if you want to look up a specific type of animal that you're looking for, or living thing, organisms, or by location. So you can like type in Brampton, for example, and you can see what animals and or plants and fungi, other organisms that you can find around Brampton, Ontario, in Canada. And so you'll see all these things come up, and you can see the time that they came up, all sorts of different things. For the City and Nature Challenge, we are taking a look specifically at a project. So when you go to projects under community, I have mine saved here. You can pull up the City and Nature Challenge for Toronto and GTA, which we're going to be looking for. And once you join that, and you do have to be 13 years or older in order to be able to add pictures, but you can join as a classroom, which is super cool. And you can add those observations as a classroom. But once you join this project, you'll be able to add um, your observations for whichever area that you're in the Toronto and the GTA for this challenge. And the challenge is really cool because you'll be able to participate with so many other people from around the area in finding all the different things that live in your area. So I think what's going to happen now is Raya is going to give you a little bit of a peek about how it will actually look when you're out in the field and trying to add an observation to iNaturalist, and will be very similar once you join into the City Nature Challenge, which starts in 2 days. So I'll throw it back to you, Raya.
wonderful. Thank you for sharing all that, Janelle, that excellent context. Um, yes, so the app that we use to share our submissions is called iNaturalist, as Janelle showed you. And iNaturalist, you can use it any time of year, um, all year long. This project within iNaturalist is what we're focusing on right now. And if I wanted to submit this plant, for instance, oh, I just lost my screen. Okay, so I have iNaturalist here. I have a little list of ID guides I like to use. And if I click on iNaturalist, then here's my screen. I can actually see, I can look up projects and I can look up all kinds of different things. And I want to do a new observation and I want to take a photo. So usually I would try to take my photo in the sun, but because I want you to be able to see the screen, I'm doing it in the shade right now. So there is the plant, and I think I've got a whole leaf there, so that's helpful for identification. And I'm going to click to take the photo, and it asks, do I want to retry or is it okay? I think it looks okay. I've got a whole leaf there, it's not fuzzy. So I'm pressing okay. And now there are a few things I could submit here. So what did you see? Well, if I know what I saw, if I know the name of the plant or an animal, I can type it in. But sometimes I might want to look up some suggestions. So iNaturalist actually allows you to click for suggestions, and then it might have a little bit of a list. And you can even look up, so I agree that this is a burdock, but I don't know which kind. So I'm going to click on burdocks here. And it shows me some pictures of burdocks in different life stages. Oh gosh, sorry. That's okay. This park sees a lot of dogs, and the dog just came that wanted to see the burdock as well. So as I move through the pictures, I can tell that, yep, these leaves look like the leaves I'm looking at. And I am going to select this right here. It is burdock. The date is already put in automatically. And the location is automatic because I have my location on. Is it captive or cultivated? That just means, is it a wild growing plant or is it a plant in that somebody's growing really special in their yard or inside their home? It is not captive. It is not cultivated. It's a wild plant. So I'm not going to check that. And if you have the City Nature project, if this was April 25th, then I could add it to that project as well. But I'm going to check that off right now because we're not yet on that date. And now we can see it's waiting to upload. And once it's uploaded, then you can go on right now and view it onto iNaturalist if you want to check it out. There's my sighting, and there's the location. So making a submission is as easy as that. Let me just reset my phone here. It's really just taking a photo, putting a few pieces of information in, and then you're all set. Now, we've talked a lot about plants, and we talked a little bit about birds, but there's one really cool set of organisms we haven't gotten into yet. And these are insects and other arthropods. Arthropods, oh, sorry about the wind, my friends. Arthropods basically means that the animal is segmented. So they have a segmented body. And this time of year, when they're not flying around yet, because we don't have, sorry about that, my friends, we don't have a lot of flowering plants just yet. We have to search for them a little bit on our own. And as I look around, I'm going to turn my camera around again. I'm wondering if I can find a log or a rock to flip over. And now I'm not really seeing one here, but I would like to show you how you can spot these organisms underneath a log or a rock. Janelle, would you mind showing that video that I took a little while back when there was still snow on the ground? I found this beautiful log. This was up in Richmond Hill, and it was in a forest. And I thought, there's snow on the ground, but I bet some of the insects are active. The video might be frozen. I'm not sure. Oh, there we go. And so I approached the log and flipped it over and started looking. And the closer I looked, my friends, the more I found. We've got some annelids. So annelids are worm type organisms. And there were some little scurrying creatures down there, which might not have made the camera. But again, the closer I looked, the more I came across. And as I looked at the log itself, I saw that there was more movement. So more of these arthropods, these segmented organisms. The biodiversity was really showing. Now, the most important thing, if you're flipping a log or a rock, is to make sure you put it back exactly as it was. We don't want to disturb these microhabitats that these organisms need. So whenever you do log flipping, make sure you're putting everything back just the way it was. So because there aren't logs or rocks here that I can flip, I'm going to see if I can spot a few insects, perhaps underneath the leaf layer. You might not know this. I'm going to go underneath this railing with the camera. So you might not know that the leaf layer is actually super important for insects to overwinter in. So all these leaves might have insects that are in their pupa stage over the winter or in different parts of their life cycle. Just like with the rock or log, I'm going to put the leaves back right where they were. Let me see if there's anybody scurrying around under here. Kind of hard to tell with the sun sometimes. Let's see. Oh, I'm seeing a little, you probably can't see in your camera. There's a little bit of movement here, a little tiny insect. Anybody else? I might have scared them and they're going underneath further. I'll put your leaf blanket back, my friends. Oh my gosh. Not an insect, but are you kidding me with this? This is amazing. I haven't seen this in years. Can you see it in the camera? These little tiny cups with what look like little tiny eggs in them aren't actually eggs. It looks like a bit of a bird's nest, doesn't it? This is a fungus, my friends. This, I believe it's called bird nest fungus. And I went on a course once where I was learning about mushrooms and other fungus. And that is the only time I've ever seen these before. They're so cute. They're so tiny. Oh, that was a treat. I'm going to come back later, maybe during the City Nature Challenge, and take photos of that and submit it. I love it. Wow. What a surprise. Okay, well, we didn't find other insects, but I'm so excited about that bird nest fungus. I'm going to put the leaves back how they were so that the insects that I know are under there, even though we can see them, can have their home back. Oh, I can't believe we found that. Now, I mentioned earlier that, I'm going to turn the camera around back to me, that the City Nature Challenge is about 10 years old. And I mentioned earlier that the first cities to compete in the City Nature Challenge were just two. Los Angeles and San Francisco were competing. And now, over the years, it has grown big time. So in 2016, when it started, 2 cities. In 2017, there were 16 cities. In 2022, it grew to 445 cities. Last year, in 2024, 690 cities were taking part. And now we're at over 700. So just some cool stats. Last year, those 690 cities were in 51 different countries. There were 2.4 million observations. There were over 65,000 species observed. That's huge. Talk about biodiversity. Over 83,000 observers took part, which is just phenomenal. So the City Nature Challenge is kind of a big deal. And we really encourage you to take part. Like we said before, the dates for the challenge are April 25th to the 28th. And then you can upload your photos until May 5th rather. So April 29th to May 4th. So you can submit your photos to May 4th. On May 5th, the results will be in about which city had the most people observing, the most observations, and which city has won. So I highly recommend you take part. On the worksheet that Janelle showed earlier, you'll notice that there was the column for photo and a column for a little description of the organism and a column for the name of the plant or animal, if you know it. And so on that worksheet, the idea with that is that because iNaturalist, we can't use it sort of on our own without special permission from a parent or guardian until we're 13 years old. But as a class, you could go out and print out that worksheet and document what you're seeing. So take a photo, check off if you've taken a photo, just a little description of what you've taken a photo of, so you can add that into the notes, maybe if you wanted to contribute that to the submission, or just remember which photo goes with which animal or plant. And then if you know the name, you can add the name to it as well. So you can use the worksheet that way. Then when you're back in a classroom as a class with your teacher supervision, you can upload those sightings, those observations. The second worksheet, like I mentioned, if you want to explore iNaturalist, you don't even need an account. An account is free anyway, but you don't need an account to explore it. And what Janelle started showing you about how to explore it, we made a cool little scavenger hunt, so you can try to find some cool sightings in the Greater Toronto area from iNaturalist using that second exploring worksheet. Continuing on our exploration here, I am standing by some benches that are on the side of the trail. And of course, anywhere we go, we want to stay on the trails here. And because I want to stay on the trail, I can't show you very up close, but I'm going to lean on this bench and try to extend my camera to show you these other flowering plants. And if you look closely, you can see there's some white petals. They have a yellow center. And this plant it's one of the spring ephemerals. So one of the plants that flowers early in the spring and then stops flowering by mid-spring already. Spring ephemeral. This one is called bloodroot. And bloodroot is called that because if you were to break the root, which I don't recommend you do, but if you were to break the root, then you would actually see it has a red sap and it kind of oozes out like blood. So that's why it's called bloodroot. Some people are actually allergic to that sap of the plant as well, so just so you're aware. But that's a pretty cool sighting. Another sighting that is right on the bench, and it's kind of all over the bench. These benches are old enough that they're starting to gather. Is this? You might be saying, Raya, is that a plant? Is that a fungus? What is that? Well, the answer is both. This is actually lichen, which is a combination of algae and fungus. And there are lots of different types right here. Now, again, if I'm submitting this to iNaturalist and taking a photo, I might take this photo first. But since there are so many and I want to have maybe the experts report to me exactly which lichen we have, I want to specify which one I'm asking about. or which one I'm submitting. So maybe I'll point to it. So there's one, click. Maybe I want to ask about this one. Does anybody know what that one is? Click. Or there's this one I think is different than that first one. There's two here. There's the orange and then there's this kind of greener one. So you want to be kind of specific. You can actually take a photo and circle it. Just edit the photo to circle it, and that's fine too. So there are plants and animals and lichen and fungi all around us all the time. And as I'm walking along this trail, I'm going to come out to where these buildings are. I'm trying to avoid having people here. They haven't given me permission to film it. So you can see that we are definitely right by downtown, lots of tall buildings. And what buildings have on the ground, or what cities have on the ground? Sidewalks. And even between the cracks in the sidewalks, sometimes grow plants, which we can document on iNaturalist. That picture I took this morning, I took it down the way a little bit. So Janelle is showing a picture of a plant in a crack in a sidewalk, and that is just fine to show as well. So my friends, nature is all around us. We all have the opportunity and the capacity to share this wonderful natural world with others in the world. And I really want to thank you for joining me on this journey through this urban park, surrounded by buildings, to discover what kinds of animals and plants are in this. And I encourage you to be part of this. Share with your parents about how you can support a good nature.
Ryan, I'm so sorry to interrupt you, but I think the wind is really impacting the mic and we can't really hear you that well anymore.
Oh no, I'm so sorry. Let me go to a quieter area. Apologize about that, folks.
Oh, you're
We are
sounding better already.
already okay. So we are really close to Lake Ontario, which means that there's big winds that can cross the lake without being stopped by plants and other things. Okay, I think that's quieter now. So I was saying I want to thank everybody. We're going to do a little question period, but I did want to thank everybody for joining me on this journey, joining us on this journey of discovering what kinds of plants and animals are in urban centers, are in cities. And we have discovered little tiny insects. The closer you look, the more you see. We've seen some bigger organisms like the birds. Haven't been able to capture any photos of squirrels today, but there's definitely squirrels and raccoons in these urban centers. So lots of different options of animal types, different categories of animals to document. On this Earth Day, like I said, this is one way to celebrate Earth Day, but you can even just go outside, take some deep breaths of air, and think about those connections with the other wildlife, including the plant life that is all around us and that we are part of. Now, before we get to questions, if you do need to go, I wanted to mention that I fully encourage you to get outside as much as possible. You may be saying, Raya, I don't know where to go. Well, guess what? You can go to trca.ca and click on events. And TRCA, we actually offer a whole bunch of different events that help you connect with your surroundings and learn about nature. I just realized I didn't even mention TRCA yet. So I am a teacher, and Janelle is a teacher with TRCA. And let's see if I can show you our little logo here on my coat. Maybe you're seeing it in the corner, but Toronto and Region Conservation Authority is who organizes these events I was just talking about and who we work for. And we love sharing about the natural world with you and getting you involved too. Come plant some plants at planting events. Come pick up litter pickup events. Lots of those. But if you have to go, it has been such a delight. And feel free to answer or put any questions if you have any further questions into the comments, and we'll check back at those as well. Now, Janelle, has anything come up in the chat as far as questions?
No questions yet, but we have had a few viewers, and we're so happy that you're here. Thank you for joining us. I have a question for you. This park, first of all, looks incredible, and we got to look at a few different types of organisms: plants, birds, some arthropods, fungi. What is your favorite group of organisms that you like looking for when you're out in nature?
My favorite organisms that I like to look for. Oh gosh. Well, my favorite organisms I'd say are spiders. I mean, they're just so cool. But when I'm trying to look for them, it's really hard. I usually just come across them. The ones I like to look for, I think I really do like flipping those logs. And even though I know it's kind of impactful on their habitat, and I try not to do it too much, it's so cool to see who is under those logs. So there might be spiders, but often it's little squiggly things or squiggly beings, and a lot of creatures that I know nothing about. And so it gives me an opportunity to learn something new. So yeah, the arthropods and also annelids and other creatures who like to nestle into those cozy spots. I'd say those are my favorite to look for.
That's super cool. And so if any of these students maybe have a woodlot near their homes or even like anything in their backyards or their schoolyards that they could like flip to look under, what are some like I know you mentioned like being gentle, rolling it over, but and then making sure you roll it back, but are there any other tips and tricks that you have for finding some really cool things underneath logs?
Um, Good question. I think that there are going to be more creatures if the area is a little wet, like not soaking wet necessarily, but if the ground is a little bit damp, then you're probably going to see a little bit more than if it's bone dry. So that's one tip that I would offer if you're looking for a good spot, a good log flipping spot.
I love it. I love flipping logs as well. Um, Still no questions in the chat. So maybe if you have one last thing to show us before we wrap up, I think that would be super cool. Even if it's just like the surroundings. I see lots of different colors starting to come up in your area.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just flip the screen around so we can see that even though we're in a city space, we often equate city with concrete. There can be a lot of nature in a city space as well. And we just have to make the decision to have it be so, right? So, um, if we want to have more natural spaces in a city, we can write letters to counselors and share with them how important we think it is to have these kinds of natural spaces in um, areas where humans live at the same time in really kind of dense populations. So thank you again, everybody, so much for joining today. And I wish you all a happy Earth Day. I feel so honored to be able to be part of this planet, part of the natural world of this planet, and really encouraging you to celebrate as well. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful Earth Day.